We're joined via Zoom by Senior Research Fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues, Thembisa Fakude, to give us an update on how Sudan's political transition could have been handled to avoid bloodshed. Thembisa, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time here on the SABC.
Thanks for having me.
So, you wrote a piece on the political power transition in Sudan. What is your observation on the country's politics leading to this conflict as we speak?
Well, I think the biggest mistake that was made in the transition in Sudan was to allow the proliferation of RSF, which is led by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, who is currently fighting with the Sudanese army. He gained much more power, and he feels that he's the right person to lead Sudan. And this power pull and push between him and General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who is the head of the Transitional Sovereign Council, is now has exposed those ambitions and has led to the current standoff that Sudan finds itself at the moment.
What assistance then is needed to ensure that the parties involved can be drawn back to a more peaceful resolution?
Well, it depends who gets involved. First of all, you have to accept that this is the head of the army and the deputy head of the army who are conflicting. So you'll have to find a very neutral party to come and kind of, bring these two very powerful figures in Sudan together, or to agree on a transition. Because what's been happening now, what triggered this conflict, is the proposal of integrating RSF, which is a rapid support force, into the Sudanese army. And the head of RSF, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, felt that they were not given the enough powers that they currently have in Sudan, and that's why we have this conflict. So you'll need to find someone who's really independent in this conflict, and I can't think of anyone at the moment, and notwithstanding that names have been touted, including Egypt and UAE, Saudi Arabia, Arab League, etc. Perhaps maybe AU might do some reconciliation in Sudan, but I don't see any other parties at the moment assisting the current situation.
In your opinion, how does the old guard in the interim government affect dynamics? Example, as you alluded to, the chairman of the Sovereign Council, Burhan. I'm asking this because, we're also trying to ascertain whether this conflict has potential to affect other regions.
Well, I think it has the potential to affect other regions, but the mistake that was committed, as I said, Ellen, was to allow RSF to proliferate. So you have this parallel army, well-paid, better paid, in fact, than the national army, better fed and taken care of, and they've been exporting their services to other countries. If you remember, during that conflict between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis in Yemen, the RSF forces were guarding the borders of Saudi Arabia, and they were getting paid handsomely by the government of Saudi Arabia. So they are a strong powerhouse, and when they came back, for example, they were much more stronger than the National Defense Force. So it's going to be very, very difficult moving forward, and I think the other regions are going to start, taking advantage of a weakened Sudan, particularly Egypt, who is having again another conflict or disagreement with Ethiopia because of the Grand Renaissance Dam. So you might just see Egypt taking that advantage because Ethiopia borders Sudan, and Sudan is the one that has been playing that role in terms of trying to negotiate the relations between Egypt and Sudan. So it could be a regional conflict, but importantly, I think internally in Sudan, given that Sudan is also fragmented in terms of its political support and allegiance, you might just find again a disintegration of Sudan politically.
Thembisa, I'm so glad you gave context to that, because I wanted to look at the economic situation in the capital of Sudan, Khartoum, versus the rest of the country, and how that influences dynamics, how this difference has led to the rebellion. I'm also asking this because, as a follow-up question, with international powers playing a role in Sudan, how would you characterize the role of the various players at this point? Perhaps the role of China and the Western powers in this situation. Is it for the better or the worst?
Well, it's hypocritical because RSF has presented challenges way before 2021. If you remember, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo was the head of Janjaweed, the same grouping that created havoc and killed thousands of people in Darfur and displaced millions of people. In 2021, post the ousting of Omar Hassan al-Bashir, they were also involved in killing hundreds of Sudanese, some of whom were thrown into the Nile because they wanted to reduce the number of people that were killed. So it's been a problem. This parallel army has been a challenge, and to have the international community, particularly countries such as United States, China, and others, calling for calm, the horse has bolted. And I think RSF deserved to be criticized way before this. And I think now it's going to be very difficult for all these international players that are now making noises to bring Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo into the table.
All right, Thembisa, let's leave the conversation there. Thank you for your time here at the SABC, a story we will continue to monitor. Senior Research Fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues, Thembisa Fakude.